shortened due to rain. After entering all of the data, just go up and select End Game in the upper right. Now, just proceed with entering the winning, losing, and saving pitchers as discussed before. Before sending the finished game file, you should check your box score with another source. I recommend using minorleaguebaseball.com since that's the source that we check your game files against. That way, if you notice a factual discrepancy between your game file and MILB that you know you're right about, you can email us so that we know about it and can process the data accurately. You can view the box score at any time by selecting View and then Box Score. Now the box score pops up, which you can maximize if you wish. You'll see basic stats for each hitter and pitcher. For batters, you see the names of the players in order, when they first appeared if they weren't a starter, their defensive position, their number of at-bats, their runs scored, their hits, their RBIs, their walks, and their strikeouts. At the bottom for each team are the team totals. For pitchers, you'll see their names in the order that they pitched, what their decision was if they got one, their innings pitched, their hits allowed, their runs allowed, their earned runs allowed, their walks allowed, their strikeouts, and their wild pitches. The last column shows the number of passed balls that occurred while they were in the game. Finally, most of the time you'll want to check your box score right after finishing a game. So, we've gone through the process of ending the game and entered the winning, losing, and saving pitchers. Before sending the game, you should check your box score by clicking the box score button. This will bring up the box score, which you can check and close out before proceeding with sending the finished file. Once you've finished checking everything over, you're ready to send your game file. Here, I've already entered the winning, losing, and saving pitchers, and I've verified the box score, so I'm ready to send the game. Just hit save, and you'll be asked if you want to upload your game. Say yes to that, and when it's done, the software will close. This is a sample score sheet taken from your test game to show you how things work. We've included the first 5 innings of the test game in your handbook so you can see an example of how things would be entered on paper. The first column is for the player's number. You'll notice it's blank here, but when I score a minor league game I always enter this info. Having the player's numbers entered really helps at the park because sometimes changes are made that aren't announced, and having this info makes keeping track of who's in the game much easier. The next column is for the players' names, followed by a column for their position. After this, there are 5 columns per sheet for the innings. When we designed the score sheet, we decided that we couldn't make the columns narrower and still allow you to easily enter everything you need to keep track of, so we settled on 5 innings per sheet. Therefore, for each game, you will need at least 2 sheets per team. I strongly suggest taking extra sheets just in case you get a long extra inning game. In fact, I generally keep all my score sheets in a 3-ring binder, so I always have plenty of score sheets and don't need to remember to bring enough each game. As you can see, there are 3 rows for each at bat. The sample box in the upper right shows you what's entered on each line. So, the first line contains all of the pitch info, which corresponds to the abbreviations up top. For example, B is the abbreviation for ball, T is for take and strike, and so on. XP is the abbreviation I use for pick off attempt pitcher. If it were by the catcher, I'd enter XC. If a runner is moving on the pitch and the situation isn't 3-2 with 2 outs, I put a plus sign right after the pitch, so F plus for a foul with runners moving. It's not in the list, but I use H for all balls hit into play. For example, the sequence of the first batter here was ball, ball, take and strike, foul bunt, foul, ball, foul, and hit into play. The last item in the first row is the hit plot number circled. This corresponds to the number of the hit plot on the field diagram. I keep a running count of the hit plot numbers, starting at 1 and going up until I start a new hit plot sheet. Here, my starting hit plot is 2 because this is the sheet for the home team, and the away team put 1 ball into play in the top of the first. From here, I continue sequentially, so you can see the next hit plot is 3, followed by 4, and so on. I like to keep both teams on the same hit plot sheet, hence why the leadoff batter starts at 2 here, and why the first batter of the second inning starts at 9 instead of 7. Otherwise, I need twice as many hit plot sheets, but ultimately that preference is up to you. The second line is for the action. In other words, it's the result of the at-bat. Also included is what happens to the runners, if anything. You can use any symbols and abbreviations you want as long as you understand what they mean later when you go to enter your game into the computer. The first batter, Torres, grounded out shortstop to first baseman, which we mark as a GO 6-3. Later in the inning, Molina doubled, which I mark as a 2B, and the runner from second advanced to home. I need to indicate all advancements that aren't obvious, as otherwise there is no way to keep track of when the runners advanced. If you have a way to keep track of this that you like better than what I do, that's fine. The important thing is to know how and when the runners advance. The last item that I normally include on the second line is any additional things that need to be entered. The most common of these is good plays. In the win at bat, you can see that I have good plays marked for both the shortstop and the first baseman. I like to circle these so that they stand out. Similarly, Molina's at bat has a wall ball within reach of the center fielder, which I have noted as W8 circled. On the third line is the hit type, velocity, and who fielded the ball. I abbreviate the hit type using L for liner, F for fly, G for grounder, and so on. FL is fliner liner, and FF is fliner fly. For velocity, I use S for soft, M for medium, and H for hard. Lastly, for the fielder, I just use the number that corresponds to his position. I enter it on every play, which is redundant for a play like a 6-3 ground out, but it's just a habit I got into in case plays would get changed after the fact. If there's multiple fielders entered, it means there was a deflection. In the Velez at bat in the second inning, I have entered 8-6, which means the ball was fielded by the center fielder after being deflected by the shortstop. The software is generally good with RBIs, so I don't feel a need to keep track of them on my score sheet. Look at the Renteria at bat in the first inning. You can see that I have the fourth pitch as a ball that is circled. This indicates that the pitch was a catcher block. I like this method because it doesn't clutter up my score sheet too much while also indicating what happened so that I don't forget about it later on. Towards the bottom of the score sheet is a section to keep track of the pitchers. It's set up so that you enter the info of the opposing pitchers, which makes sense to me since they will be pitching to the lineup on your score sheet. You can see there's a spot to enter the pitcher's handedness, the inning he came in, the first batter he faced, and the count on the batter when he came in so that you can keep track of subs in a precise manner. If there's a defensive sub, I draw a horizontal squiggly line above the at-bat the change was made on. So, if a new pitcher came in to face Uribe in bottom 2, I'd have that horizontal squiggly line right above his at-bat. If an offensive sub is made, I draw a vertical squiggly line to the left of the at-bat. So, if there was a pinch hitter for Lincecum in bottom 4, my squiggly line would be directly to the left of his at-bat. I'd also list the new player's name under the player he replaced, along with his position, as well as a small note indicating which inning he he entered the game in. This is a sheet that you plot your hit locations on, using the hit plot numbers on your score sheets. Remember, Torres grounded out to the shortstop in bottom 1 as hit plot 2. We look for the number 2 circled on the sheet, and it's right here around the normal shortstop position. The 4th hit plot corresponds to a double by Sandoval that was a hard fliner liner. We look up that number on the diagram and see that it landed in deep left center. Remember your rules for plotting hit locations, as balls in the air are marked where they first land, while grounders are marked to where they roll. Here I have all the hits plotted for both teams through 5 innings. If I had enough balls in the same area, I might start a new sheet. You can see that the third base spot actually got a bit crowded here. Some tips would be using a 3-ring binder like I do. That helps to keep your pages together, particularly on days when there's a little wind. Another tip for rainy days is using clear inserts to put your sheets in. That could help you to keep your sheets protected at all times, other than when you need to write something down. One last thing I want to remind you of is something I've hinted at several times this section. That is, the notations you use on the paper score sheets are completely up to you, and what you've just watched is just one method for keeping track of everything. Ideally, we never see the paper score sheets, so all that matters is that you keep track of things in a way so that you'll know what happened when you go to enter your game into the computer. So, if you have a method that works better for you, by all means use it. We will conclude the training portion of this video with several reference clips. Many different types of plays are shown, including many unusual ones, so that you can see how these plays are entered into the software. My experience is many people find this section most helpful, particularly those who learn best by watching someone demonstrate something before doing it themselves.
Another 3-2 pitch to Ben Zobrist. Base hit into left field. Jaso comes in to score. Right behind him, Bartlett to throw to the plate. The relay at second. No good. Not in time.
We have a ball in play, so select in play. Now we plot our hit location in shallow left field. That's right around here. For velocity, it's a close call between soft and medium. I go with soft here. And for the hit type, it's a close call between liner and fliner liner. I go with liner. There was a non-traditional shift on the play as the infield was in, but the play was unaffected. The batter was on base. Now we credit the batter with a single and have both runners scoring and hit next. The left fielder picked up the hit, so we select him and proceed. Now we're asked if there are any more events. It turns out that there was here, as the batter took second on the throw, so hit advance. We advance the batter to second and choose advance on throw as the advance type. Now there are no more events, so we make that selection and we're done.
Chopped softly, it is Richardson who spins and fires, going to hurry up, and he throws it away in the dugout. Scoring from second base to be Jaso. They will stop the runner at third base, and Crawford will be given second base. Another run in for the Rays, who lead it 9-2.
I would say that's probably going to go as a base hit and an error on Richardson.
We select in play and mark the hit location. The velocity is soft, and the hit type is a grounder. The batter was on base, and he reached on a single with everyone advancing one base on that before everyone got another base on the error. For now, we just worry about the first part, so the batter gets a single, and the runners each advance one base. The pitcher fielded the hit, and now we get the final confirmation screen. There was another advance because of the error, so we pick advance. All runners moved up one base on the error.